Hello and welcome to the Perry Unity Podcast Live.
Woo!
Hey, Whitney, guess what happens tomorrow?
What?
Tomorrow is our show's third birthday.
Are you? Oh my gosh! Yay! Happy birthday to us.
Exactly. Get out the cakes and the candles.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
But as always, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brandon.
And I am Whitney. We're live!
We are live.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, tonight, Whitney, we are traveling back to the state of New Jersey to meet up with an amazing author, investigator, and medium that has a lot to tell us about.
Oh, he certainly does, Brandon. That's right. His name is Richard Moschella. He is a paranormal investigator, intuitive, and author from Morris County, New Jersey. And he is the owner and team leader of New Jersey Paranormal Project. This is an organization he founded back in 2007. Through his years of experience in the field, he takes a very respectful approach to working on all the cases he is involved with. Now, having intuitive abilities, he is always working and studying with accomplished mediums and light workers. I am super jealous. I want to work with light workers and mediums. That's going to be awesome.
I know. He has so much to talk about. It's going to be a very exciting show.
Oh,
and
wow.
I mean, what better way to kick off our now liveness
oh my God.
than with Richard. But before we do bring him on, let's talk a little bit about Morris County, New Jersey, where he's from, okay?
Yeah.
So Morris County is a county located in the U.S. state of New Jersey. It's about 30 miles west of New York City. So Morris County is a part of the New York metropolitan area and is divided into 39 municipalities, but yet has no large cities. And the capital of that county is Morristown.
So I actually found a little additional information, you know me.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yes. I did find out that there used to be a long time ago, before like thousands of years, there was a glacier. It was, I believe, the Wisconsin Glacier once was through this area, which is awesome. And starting in the year 1000 and beyond that, the main tribal folks that were living there were the Lenape tribe. But from 1611 to 1614, we got the Dutch coming in, and they established the colony of New Netherland, which claimed the territory between the 40th and 45th parallel north. My latitude and longitude sucks, but it's a zone. But just so you know, it is a zone which included northern New Jersey. So the Dutch, of course, were known for establishing forts all along the Hudson River. And of course, Hudson was a part of this. The forts were established as early as 1613. And as the years went by, more forts were put into place, and they were established to have trade with the Native Americans or the native tribes. So mostly this is the Lenape. And what they did was they traded furs and food with the Dutch for various goods. And in return, the Dutch gave the Native Americans pots and knives, guns, axes, blankets, basically metal. And as we're going to find out later, this whole area is very rich in metal, very much so. However, trade with the Native Americans pretty much stopped around 1643, when the Dutch and the Native Americans started not getting along so well. And these were constant conflicts. We also know that then the English start to put their stuff in there too, which resulted in the Dutch and the English kind of going back and forth between who actually was going to be colonizing this area. So,
yeah. The other neat thing with this, because my wartime history is always my favorite.
You're going American Revolution, aren't you, buddy?
Oh, baby.
Let's do favorite.
It. All right. So the county was the site of the winter camp of the Continental Army after the battles of Trenton and Princeton during that winter of 1777.
Oh, that brutal winter.
Yes. As well as another winter camp at Jockey Hollow during the extremely cold winter of 1779 to 1780.
And that's something else interesting. That's another thing that wiped out a lot of the native tribes in that area before the revolution. There was a mini ice age. It's actually called the Little Ice Age. So it was also, of course, disease and war and basically just getting pushed out of their territory as we normally do to people. I'm
Yep.
off my soapbox now.
Okay, good. I was letting you do it.
Thank you.
All right. But Morris County, like you were talking about before, does have a deep history in mining that's still visible today.
You said deep.
Really?
I had to.
Oh my God.
This is great. We're live.
I'm in deep tonight. All right. So from
Keep
the names
going.
of locations such as Mine Hill Township and the Richard Mine Road to the pits and sinkholes marking the landscape and the remnants of historic mills that processed the bounty, including the Boonton Iron Works. In 1880s, Dover was the center of the iron ore mining with 132 mines that were producing roughly 700,000 tons of ore annually.
That's wow.
Yeah, they were getting on it. The mines were mostly worked by the Cornish miners, with the bulk of the population in Dover and Port Oram of Cornish extraction. But at that time, the Cornish had kind of kept their customs and dialect and were deeply religious and were predominantly Methodists. So this is a very divided area that we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, actually, I think even though this is New Jersey, not too far, of course, is Pennsylvania, and that's where you're entering the Irish and the Molly Maguire territory.
Well, then you also get into the Amish and stuff like that too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so with all of this cultural mixing from so many different backgrounds and the mining and the battles, there's no doubt that there are a few haunted locations in this area. So you gave me this deliberately because you know I love haunted colleges.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. We're headed off to Madison, New Jersey, and Drew University. And there are apparently many hauntings ascribed to Drew University in the Great Hall, which is actually like a castle. And we'll try and post some pictures on our social network sites. But in the Great Hall, there are said to be ghostly faces appearing in the ceiling carvings, and the chandeliers are swinging by themselves. That's freaky. That kind of do you know remember the remake of The Haunting of Hill House with
yes.
Catherine Zeta-Jones and Lily
Yes.
Tomlin? Okay, so those wooden carvings that can't
You know, I must be around my children too much, because when I was thinking about the castle with the chandeliers, I was thinking Beauty and the Beast all the way.
I mean, that's also kind of cool too. Hey, sorry, I went there. Another thing that happens in the Great Hall is there's a mirror that reflects the apparition of a man in round gold spectacles. That's kind of cool too. And there's also another thing called the Arboretum, where there is a spectral, filmy lady in blue who haunts this lake area in the back of the Arboretum. Arboretums can be really spooky places.
I love them. I think they're so cool.
They are cool, but I mean, a little off topic, but there's a friend of mine that lives in Boston, and she told me of some really freaky stuff about the Arboretum there. So I'll have to get more information about that. But anyway, also another haunted location in Drew University is Hoyt Hall, which is rumored to be haunted by a girl who once hanged herself in the attic. Oh man, gotta love college ghost lore.
I know, it's your favorite.
Well, among other things.
Moving into our next place, because you know I love food, is a haunted restaurant. So our next spot's the New Jersey Bar and Grill in Mine Hall Township, and this was the scene of a murder.
Ooh.
So reports say long ago a man was killed by his mistress while he was playing pool, and now his ghost lingers in the place that he passed. So witnesses here, go ahead, say it.
No, I was gonna say it's usually in these kinds of stories, it's usually the man that kills the mistress,
Not
not
here.
the other way around.
No, no. And
Female
I mean,
empowerment.
when I was looking up the research on here, I was kind of hoping to find like another death burger since we were in New Jersey again.
Oh my God. Like
But
in there when we were hanging out with Mustafa and
yeah.
oh my God.
Anyways, witnesses here do say that wine bottles float and then drop to the ground on their own, and a shadow has behaved very threateningly towards the owners. This site has been featured on an episode of Ghost Hunters, so maybe Mustafa does know about it.
Yeah, or maybe this came on previously when it was Jason and Grant's era. Who knows? I'll have
Could
to look
be.
that up. So, speaking of other places to hang out, our next place is Public House, and this is spelled Publick. So, the old style of public. Originally, it was the 1810 brick hotel, and the public house is said to be haunted by apparitions, growling noises, cold spots, phantom perfumes, and I guess a grab bag of eerie phenomena. When you think about it, that makes a whole lot of sense if it's a place where people have come and gone, especially when it comes to a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but you know what? Let's stop talking about Morris County and let's get our guest on. Richard can probably even tell us about some of these places. So let's get Richard on to talk about his experiences with the New Jersey Paranormal Project, mediumship, and all these amazing books. Richard, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me on, and happy 3rd birthday.
Yay!
Yeah. Well, and I do want to invite our listeners before we start getting into the questions. If you guys have any questions, put it in the comments on whether you're watching it on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're watching it at. Feel free to leave comments. Let us know you're here. Say hi to Richard or us. And if you have some questions for him, by all means, ask away.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But let's kick this off then, Richard. What got you interested in the paranormal?
I was always interested from a young age. I remember watching Unsolved Mysteries in search of, and if you're a kid in the 90s growing up, there was a show on Channel 5 called Sightings.
Hell yeah.
Right? I remember tuning in and taping them, because I would watch them over and over. And, I just always had an interest in the paranormal. And prior to that, my family always had these paranormal stories that I wrote about in my first book. But pretty much born into ghosts and spirits and, throughout as I was getting older, I just kept educating myself on it, watching great documentaries and going to the library and taking out books by like Hans Holzer and, Ed, Lorraine Warren, and just reading and just consuming as much as I can. I was the kid in high school when you had to bring a book in to read. It was something Bigfoot, ghosts, and, the teacher's looking at you like, what the heck are you?
How dare you replicate my whole elementary and middle school experience. Yeah. And by the way, in our chat, we have Marianne Taylor saying, hi, Rich, from Facebook. Hi, Marianne.
She's a really good friend of mine. She's a medium herself. It's a pleasure to work with. I'm happy that she's here tonight.
Yay.
Nice. Well, then I guess kind of along that lines, you said you're always kind of interested. When did you actually get your New Jersey Paranormal Project off the ground then?
New Jersey Paranormal Project came to me. I love history. I'm a huge history buff. And I would go to these historical sites and, in the back of my head, I remember reading about Hans, Holzer going up to Ringwood Manor with one of his mediums. And she was a trance medium at that. So she was able to connect with spirit there. So here I am, I'm driving and I'm like, oh, I'm up up in the northern section of the state where, the manor is. I'm like, let me go check that out. So it's 2007. I go, let me videotape a little bit of like an intro, like an introduction where we talk about the history. And I'll go around with some like EVP equipment, little digital tape recorder in my pocket. And I'm taking pictures. And You know what? That turned out to be the first episode that I posted on YouTube back in 2007.
Oh,
And
wow.
I got no EVPs. I mean, it's really rough. I'm wearing this Indiana Jones looking hat. I don't know what I'm doing. But out of the pictures, there's one picture on a pond where supposedly the ghost of Sally, it's called Sally's Pond. And you can see this apparition, this form floating above the pond. So that was the only piece of evidence that I got. But it was a great experience. And I said, you know what, I'm going to start doing little videos. And pretty much that's how it started. Just going up to these historical places, bringing digital recorder in my pocket and a little point and shoot camera. And then it just gradually started getting more expensive as, you know.
Yeah,
As
I
it
get that.
does.
No. And also the technology also improved, you know, like now we have like really good stuff, but in the early 2000s, you know, you had your dowsing rods and
Oh, wow. Showing up
Oh,
with
believe me, I know.
yeah.
I know.
Well, it's amazing how far the field has come from then to now, you know.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
exactly. I mean, you can't go online without finding a company that's, or a team or somebody that's making new devices like daily.
Yeah.
So
Like-
it's crazy.
Gary
Okay.
Galka, I mean, you look at the stuff that he's producing, or anybody else who's building this kind of equipment. It's just great. I mean, it really keeps advancing the field, and that's good. You know, like we're not just happy with what we have now. Somebody's always trying to make something better, and I think that's a great attitude and mindset to have in this field. Is don't be content with what we have now. You know, we could make this stuff better.
I'll tell you what, I think the ones that are kind of my favorite right now that I've been looking at is the ones that Ron Iacovetti's been making, his ITC devices.
Yeah.
Them old radios and stuff. God,
Oh,
they're
wow.
just so cool.
I actually was with Ron this past Friday night. He did this huge exhibit up in the Pine Bush area, which any of your listeners, Pine Bush, New York is a mecca. I mean, from its 1980s flap with the UFOs and aliens. So he
Oh,
at
wow.
the museum there that they have that's dedicated to the Pine Bush UFO Paranormal Museum.
Hmm.
He did the digital seance, and he had me at first. He was going to be there. He was bringing his digital equipment, and it was going to be a seance. I'm like, okay, I'm there.
Oh, wow.
So picture about 25 to 30 people inside their huge museum room.
Oh,
And he
boy.
turns on his, equipment. And this is a dead channel, direct radio. So you hear nothing. There's no station coming in. This is just fuzz. All of a
Wow.
sudden, voices start coming through saying hello, answering questions from the attendees. I mean, this is like mind-blowing stuff. And I hope when people walked out of there, they had a different appreciation for the communication process, because you did get, pretty good responses to your being asked, and, that back and forth with Spirit.
That's what. Actually, and you know what? I'm going to be a bit of a rebel today, Brandon.
Oh,
Yeah, and I'm going to go out of order on the questions because we're talking about equipment. So, Rich, what's your favorite piece of equipment when you're out in the field?
Well, first, I would say I love doing things with trigger objects. I'll bring, if knowing the history of a place, I'll bring up a list. And you were talking about like Morris County, the mining areas that are here. There's an old miners cemetery right down the road from. It's tucked into the woods on a hiking trail. I found out about this place, and I started researching, and they said it was a very rough place at night. Miners would go there, work and then party in like this little town that was up in the mountain. I brought a huge bottle of whiskey. An old bottle of whiskey, okay?
Oh my gosh.
So
nice.
here we are. We're now using a spirit box. So now we have the spirit box going, and I go, can Can you tell me what I have? And all of a sudden you hear vodka. And I go, whiskey. But they were known to enjoy vodka. So that even validated.
Oh.
Yeah. As I started to research more about what was happening, they enjoyed vodka. So I'm like, okay, now that clicked. As I'm out over the spirit box, you hear sip, sip. And I'm like, okay, guys, like, so I like trigger things. Like, I have a doll that says colors. So through the spirit box, I'll play the doll and I'll ask spirit, can you tell me what this doll just said? And all of a sudden you'll hear red, purple, yellow. And it's that direct response. So I think I really like the spirit box, even having like a REM pod over by trigger objects behind me. You'll see I have like a rag doll or something. If it's a child that they claim is wanting an area, bring the rag doll. You put the REM pod by it. You ask them to come closer. So I would say my two favorites would probably be the REM pod and your spirit box.
Sure.
And I can keep going. I mean, there's some that where as investigators something doesn't work and something does.
That's true.
There's times when I feel like we're in an older area, like the Jockey Hollow, where some old divining tools work, like pendulum and dowsing, where more technical stuff doesn't work. So I think whatever they want to use that given day that you're there, or that given night.
Sure. Well, so we've learned about your team. We've learned about your equipment.
Yeah.
So now I want to hear about your books.
Me too. And also we have a fellow writer on the chat right now. I see our good friend Betsy Kulikowski on the show.
Oh.
Hey, Betsy.
Thanks for joining. Well, the books all came from me saying, you know what? There's not too much out there written about New Jersey. And I wanted to tell people about my experience from being a young kid, trying to be thrown into the paranormal experiences. My father would tell me stories as a kid where he remembers his aunt having the fiance one night as his family worked out. He wasn't able to sit. He was able to sit in the living room and watch them in the kitchen. He claims that the curtains all started moving. So these were stories that I was told at 7 and 8 years old and couldn't go to sleep at night because of these stories. So this kind of like pushed me into, so I included all these little stories, the book, and also about the places that we do go to and we do investigate. And we use our combining history with the paranormal. Felt like that's a great way to introduce to people, get the history and the paranormal. And in a lot of what I write about, you'll see that paranormal and the history actually line up.
Yeah, definitely.
It's very interesting for response that we get. So the first book is just me our group and how people came about, joined us, people that I got to work with. Then with Spirit Voices, second book, it's more about the community process. I talk about mediumship, I talk about the spirit art process. And then in Case Files, third book, a bunch of there's UFOs, and of course, a whole chapter with going up to Massachusetts. I vacation every year on the Cape. And down is one of the greatest places that any paranormal investigation, with the Barnstable House line.
Oh yeah.
And I could write a whole book on just Cape Cod alone. I said I just have to do a chapter, but I'm gonna come back to this.
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea. Come back to the Cape, because crazy.
It's kind of weird because I'm there, I'm on like vacation. I'm married. I have 2 kids. One's 3,
Mm.
one's 2. So as a dad, you kind of see where I'm coming from. So a lot of what I'm doing there is at night. I like arrange. Okay, the kids are in bed at 8. I'm driving to this haunted place, whether it's the Barnstable house or, one day I said, you know what? The kids are napping. I'm going to go to a bookshop. So I go to the bookshop, the Isaiah Thomas bookshop.
Mm-hmm.
I walk in, and all of a sudden I see like ghost stuff on the walls. I'm like, I'm going to ask them. I'm like, hey, you got ghosts?
Got ghosts?
Out 20-minute conversation. He pretty much, anybody else who came into the shop, he was just talking to me. I feel bad. There must have been a line. But he was telling me that there was a room upstairs in the house when he started to renovate it and turn it into a bookshop. There was a door that he found with a lock that was from the outside. There wasn't a lock on the inside. He also found a very old mattress inside that room. So he believes, and looking through research, that they might have a child or somebody that they locked up in this room in their attic.
Oh.
Or they were challenged or something, because they did very cruel things back then when they didn't know how to handle mental illness. So that's what he was feeling. Something like, and he said everything in the shop sometimes off you. He'll leave books, and the books are knocked over. Just things like that. Just talking to him and hearing about like little people, they pick up, they come in, was. So I always find that I walk into these places, where people are willing to like just tell you their stories, and I'm there to listen.
I run into that in the museum field.
Oh, really?
Yes, all the time. All the time.
And it's great because I love hearing what other people are going through, and that's another thing. We do lectures, we do these seminars, totally free. We come into like the library, or we come into whatever hall that they're having. We bring our evidence, we bring our videos, we bring our tools. And even after we're done with these lectures, people come up and they want to talk to you. Every story is personal. Somebody wants to talk to you about their grandfather or their husband or their wife. And it's just taking the time to make that connection with them, like that soul to soul. And it's amazing. It's almost like a little bit of healing starts like to happen when they see that there is a continuity. That when as Ron Iacovetti said, when these meat pajamas are off us, that we do go on. And that's I think in the long way that we look at this, kind of healing in a way, to know that there is a continuity to this.
Wow.
So yeah, 100%. So I think that's like a perfect segue into my next question, or into the next question. So tell us about your spirit art.
Yes.
Spirit art. Okay. So about 2 years ago, I'm working with media. Always bring media. And that's a good thing with the Paranormal Project. I want to work with everybody. So if somebody has skill and they want to come in and work with us, I always keep our doors wide open to collaborate and work with a group. So this one medium comes in, she starts working with us, and we're working in this case. She starts talking about this man, and she's picking up spirit. Also, I start what this man looks like back to, because see him too, and I'm like, well, I kind of like always have these kinds of like hunches, but you kind of don't want to act on it. You don't want to be that guy. So, I started to inquire and ask her about teachers that actually work with you and start honing your mediumship abilities in circles. So for the last year, about year and a half, I've been sitting in a circle every Tuesday night, but COVID, a Zoom circle. So we're sitting in circle, and it's about an hour and a half every night on the Tuesday, where we meet up and you hone your. especially with the evidential and the
Right.
mediumship, is when you could actually pinpoint certain things to this person. It's not loosey goosey, not just saying lady loves dance. Where, and I'll hold up a picture. This is that I do, and it starts with the name that I feel that they're coming through with, from health ailments that they had, and we go through specific things that you want to hit on, reference, what kind of personality, what did they collect, what kind of hobby, is there a picture that means something to that person, something close to the sitter's heart, and it just I try to at least hit on 25 to 30 different things that could make this ring true for somebody. And I always say, if I could be in that 80% to 90% ballpark of being that conveyor of that message, that's fantastic. And I've had that, and as I'm doing these classes and we're sitting in circle and I'm getting to work with different people, I always feel like I take a little bit of like what they teach me, keep moving it forward. It's getting better. I'm sitting in my office sometimes and somebody comes in and I start sketching and the connection's there, and that's such a rewarding feeling when you could actually, say, this is, that person, and they have a photo that matches it, and pretty much everything that you wrote around the photo is like correct. So that's spirit art. I mean, it's been happening since the early 1800s. The banks, they would do spirit paintings.
Oh yeah.
With the advent of the spiritualist movement, which kind of is funny because I kind of feel like we're in like that awakening process now with all the COVID death. When that spiritualist movement started in the mid 1800s, that was around the death of the Civil War, where people wanted to start connecting to their loved ones. The spike of the spiritualist movement, the table tipping started happening. I feel like we're in that phase again where people want to reach out to their loved ones and they want to be assured that there is a continuity to life. Oh, hopefully there.
Yeah. Well, let's try an experiment. So,
okay. We're going to do this?
Yeah. So, Richard, you messaged me this morning.
Yeah.
And I mean, the first thing I see when I crawled out of bed this morning is a picture of a gentleman that you drew. And it's just like, I didn't really know what to say or what to expect when I saw it. So what I want to do is, it didn't connect to anything with me.
Okay.
But let's put it up there and see if anybody else sees it and thinks that is something that they can connect with. So Whitney, I think I'm just going to pop this up over your face.
Okay, fine.
So
my face is hideous. Oh yeah, here we go.
All right. So do you remember much of what you told me, or do you want me to read it off, Richard?
You totally could read it off. Everything is right there, right down.
Okay. Well, this is the name is starts with an L, possibly mentioned Lewis. So 68 to 74 years old at passing. I had some cardiovascular issues, diabetic, circulation issues, something like that. Richard picked up like a father or grandfather figure, worked with his hands, had like very rough hands, hard worker.
Yeah.
But he was a real big guy, had a real big heart. Let's see here. Jeans, flannel shirt kind of guy who worked hands, do anything for you type, liked to watch football, working in the dirt, took pride in his work, did gardening, farming, taking dives. Let's see, Thanksgiving families. Was a car guy. He liked to tinker with automotive. He did own a truck. And you saw him sitting at a kitchen, drinking coffee at the table. Let's see here. Then they get into some questions here. They ask the years 2004 to 2007.
Dates might be important.
Okay.
Might be important dates. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the boys. And then
boys. Yeah.
Okay.
If the sitter might have children that he's around, but I definitely feel that he's like watching the boy.
Watching the boys.
Hmm.
All right. And then the question, did he leave his wife behind?
Yeah, I feel that he probably went first.
Okay. And then, but he does have regret from working too much or working too hard. But he does know that he's thought about, and he wants to see them carrying on traditions, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
very important, is the carrying on of tradition, that reign.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. Well, anybody watching this, if this looks or sparks anything for you, reach out to us or reach out to Richard.
Yeah.
And that way we can see if this connects up. If you are not watching the live, shame on you. But you can hop onto it after you're done listening to the episode, wherever you listen to it, and take a look at this picture and, again, see if this connects. That's super cool.
Yeah, and like I try to do it as soon as the image comes. Sometimes they don't go, and I see this just in my mind's eye. They're not standing in front of me. This is all done through like my mind's eye. It kind of looks like a movie with changing scenes. And as this is happening, I just writing down and sketching what I'm seeing. So
I didn't want Whitney to feel forgotten back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I decided it would be creepy if my voice came behind that picture. So, yes. But yeah, folks, I mean, just who knows? Something might connect with somebody out there.
That would be like really fantastic. And if it didn't, it didn't. But, I'm just happy that I could share it with you and even just talk about how the spirit art works, because a lot of people, when they kind of wonder how do you trust spirit. When we go into play, I have these images, and it's even sometimes before I go to the my office, the morning. This could be for some watching it right now. Spirit knows, especially with intention, and they know that that you will be going somewhere. Sometimes I'll be going to this historical home, and I'll have a few sketches. I'll walk into the home, and all of a sudden, that are on the wall. And I'm not talking about George Washington, Hamilton, because we all know what they look like. But I'm talking about miners and people that are like, if they were actors, they're like the C actors of the play. They're not the prominent people that you think of. So it's kind of cool when it rings true for people that are like lesser known, or you have to really dig through archives to find a photo of what this person looked.
Sure.
What they look like. And
definitely,
I am the friend of many historicals, because I have to go there and talk to the historians. Listen, I need to know what this person looked like. Well, why do you know so bad? It's like, because I have a picture.
Help me.
Yeah.
All right. So not gonna lie, putting the sketch up and talking about it, I wish to God I would have had Unsolved Mysteries theme queued up so I could play that, because I literally felt like Robert Stack going through that. It was phenomenal.
I know, right? Oh, wow.
I'm going to check that off the bucket list.
Yes.
Well, we have to do it again. We could do some unsolved.
Yeah, Unsolved Mysteries. Richard's just going to draw pictures of these people that appear to him, and we're just going to do clips of them.
Hey, that's our new show. We've been talking about doing a spinoff, haven't we?
True.
Para Unity.
The Para Unity spirit art. There you go.
Hey.
Well, what? Obviously, now we know about what you do with your spirit art. We talked about your teams, your books, stuff like that. How? Let's see. How do I want to word this? How do you use your mediumship in relation to your investigations? So, I mean, obviously, I know that your team does a lot of work with like homes, and you guys try to focus more on home investigations as
Historical
opposed to like businesses or going up to like the more known like haunted places. So how does that help you guys? I mean, how do you use it?
Well, I'll always with sketches. I don't do these sketches while I'm there. So this stuff is all done, and I usually bring it in a little folder like this.
Okay.
And I mark when I did this. So this would be done at 3 days ago at this time in the morning. So that's done. So once that's done and closed off, that is pretty much what I picked up on for this location I'm going to. Once we're there, the equipment's all done. So, we'll scour the place. We'll the standard reading, what the EMFs are, if there's any areas concerned about with high EMF. Then we'll start breaking it down. We'll go last. We'll see if we have interaction where we human form,
Right.
break it out into floors if it is a historical home, and just make sure that we cover each room, each hallway, motion sensors, pretty much everything that those paranormal shows do, what every group does. But what we also do is we'll have somebody who's very intuitive with us doing the divining rods, so dowsing, pendulum. We'll combine that with what we're getting. We'll combine what reactions we're asking for to go to the REM pod, and if it's also communicated through the down. So it's really making sure everything kind of like just I think layering a location with the gear and with the findings, making sure everything kind of keeps. And then at the tail end of everything, we'll bring out the historical paperwork that we. So it's huge because it helps you during these spirit radio sessions is to have people's names and to know, like the Find a Grave, how many people were in this home. Did they have children? Did somebody die young? Did a child die in childhood there? Did somebody go off and die in war? Because now you can target your questions to their lives. And I think it's very easy to like, tell me your name. And that's not right. I don't think we would want somebody in our homes and demand like our age. And when did your father die? And you get upset too, So I think if we could find a way, and this is what we do, is we start, with the research is we come in and we ask, out of love and respect, we're here to tell your story. We want to have communication with you. And it's building that trust with them from the moment we walk in, that we're not here to, do anything wrong. We're here out of respect. And that intention is stated. Intention's huge.
Yes.
And also then having that list, you could talk about the lives that lived in that, whether it's historical, residential, business. At one point, these lives were lived there. And if we could have that conversation as if we were talking to a person who was living, I think that's important, is to be able to hit on things that they did in life, their success, their failure, their loss, their grief, their happiness. And if we could have that conversation, you'll be surprised on the evidence that you start recording through EEG, REM pods. I feel that they'll want to communicate. Who is this guy?
Yeah.
So then the mediumship at the end, once we go through all of our research and the voice evidence, the mediumship helps because then we could kind of start saying, well, let's open this up. These pictures match the spirit that we were communicating with in the room because forward as, a male minor. He lived 75, died around 8, So once that stuff starts lining up again with all that other evidence, if those pictures fit those people, and there's photos in the historical record that match, it's just like ingredients in a cake. I mean, you just keep layering them in, and if it all starts ringing true, it's just amazing, to have this contact that you can say you were talking to somebody 200 years ago, or 100 years, or your great great grandfather. I mean, that's makes the hair stand up on you when you see that, and it all.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I got to give you guys credit for out there in New Jersey, especially in Morris County. So when we were doing the research for the show, the actual county website for the county government, they have a whole section on there where they're just talking about the miners that lived in Morris County back in the day. Like they have a book made where they uncovered all these old photos and stories and letters, and they've been compiling them. And so you can go on there and kind of read through it and look at the pictures and see like these actual people from back then that were their whole lives were this mining. And it's so cool to see. And
it was a terrible, it
was terrible.
These poor men and pretty much children, they allowed their young boys mines too. And, the lifespan was, there was no health caution. Deaths occurred, no regulated things in the mine.
Yeah. So, it's a part of the, and I know that there's so much going on these days with trying to get more of the diverse stories out there from history, and more of a complete story and telling the truth. And I bet it's a great resource for school kids.
Yeah. And why not use the paranormal as an interest for children to kind of get them into history, and also use the paranormal for it, to get kids into history through the paranormal. Like, why not? And I really as belong, like more historical societies see that. They don't have to be fully on board with the paranormal. As long as we're doing, other groups are doing it in a respectful way.
Right.
You could raise money for a new roof. You can,
absolutely
put this money towards like the rehab of an old. People want a paranormal.
Yeah. And everything that you're speaking of about how it can raise money for preservation, for education. There's so many wonderful people out there that are doing that. So let's keep that going on. And actually, speaking of sites, what's been your favorite place that you've investigated?
Oh my God. I would say, I could mention two that are really cool.
All right.
And you'll see why there's two. One, Lenape.
Yes.
Jenny Jump, which is in the north corner.
Mm.
There's this rock here that the Lenape Indians that hunter gathered.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tucked on a mountainside. Here I am with my book, REM pod, my gear box up the side of a mountain, right?
Oh my God.
we get into the cave, and pretty much the cave 2 meters. I'm like, okay. So we sit down. Let's play music from YouTube. I'm going to look up tribal music from the Lenape and put the REM pod down and play the tribal music and see if we could stir any kind of activity. Right? It's playing, right? And all of a sudden, the REM pod starts acting light up and going in a circular fashion.
Oh, wow.
Music. It's around the REM pod. And I have my friend Marcy right like next to me. She's like, Rich, this is like amazing. I'm like, I know. Like, it's actually going to the beat and it's lighting up going in a circle. So I go, stop the music. Let's see if it keeps going. The REM pod stopped. So I'm like, oh my God. That's my thing. If we could walk away from a location with just one piece of evidence, just one piece of paranormal, that makes it worth it to me. And that just blew my mind because it was almost like the connection wasn't there until the music, which makes sense. They don't know our language, maybe, but that music was language. So it put that vibration out, and we got a response. The second place is Early American Tavern.
Okay.
Now, this place goes back to like Civil War period, and it was known as the Union House. It was a recruiting house for the Civil War.
Oh, yeah.
Me being right, so I know I'm a huge hit at parties. Okay, I know Civil War. So I'm like, you know what? I told you earlier I like trigger objects. So we got the spirit box going, and I'm like, I'm gonna a Civil War song, and I want to see if we get a response. So the spirit box is running, and we're asking questions, and we're getting answers, but nothing too, close to what we're asking. So I'm like, okay, can you tell me what I'm doing? And all of a sudden I sing, the years go slowly by, Lorena, snow falls on the ground again. American Idol, no. But so from the spirit box, we hear sing. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
And then I ask, when was this song from? And you hear a voice very clearly say, wartime.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if I could walk out of a place with that one little bit of evidence in my pocket, that's just amazing. Like, I communicated with a Civil War presence or consciousness, like in that building, and it was just awesome. And then they look at me, they're, like, how do you know that? I'm like, well, the Ken Burns soundtrack for the Civil War, So,
well, it's amazing the type of stuff you end up learning in this field that you never thought you would know.
So true.
It's really important to have all that in your toolbox, because sometimes stuff doesn't work and you need to think on a fly, like, how can we get that response? And sometimes having that historical information in that mind, where you're like, well, this is useless information, but hey, it works here.
It works here, and it works on Jeopardy.
Exactly.
And Richard, you are now part of my circle for the rest of my life. You are a writer and a history buff and a medium. Hell yeah.
I know. And I love the history, and that's so important. And we could go into these locations, and sometimes you won't really part of a backstory that's even being told about in some of these places, and we could bring to that.
Exactly. Oh, that's fantastic.
Well, congratulations on Whitney's phone a friend status. So, do you have any public events coming up for appearances or book signings or releases or anything good like that?
Because we're live.
Ray has now put out my first book over again, the bonus chapter. So my New Jersey Paranormal Project is coming out, the second edition. It'll be up on Amazon in the next week or so. And then there's 3 more books that have to come out that will be a second edition with bonus material, bonus pictures. I've been very busy writing. And then for books that will be coming out over the course of this year going into next year. So I'm pretty much typed out at the moment, So I'm really excited, though, to share these experiences working with different people in the field, other mediums that I've worked with. For public events, we're just starting to gear things up. So I would say just follow Facebook, follow the YouTube, the TikTok. I started TikTok video.
Oh God, just no.
Just a way to reach people,
Yeah.
And I
do you do the dances too?
No, no. I don't.
just throwing it out there. Helping you get viewers or followers, or what are they called on there? I don't know.
Talkers.
Uh,
TikTokers.
TikTokers.
I don't know.
But my wife will tell you, it does pull you in. You know, you do get pulled into this TikTok. It's like a vortex. It just,
Yeah.
start watching these train wrecks.
That is definitely the best way to put it. Oh man. Oh man.
You know, I really feel bad for the people, like 100 years from now that would be trying to talk like to us about our experiences. They'd be like, what the heck was TikTok? This ghost is saying that they missed TikTok.
That would be very interesting.
I'm
And
not looking
terrifying.
forward to that. I will not be in this field when that starts happening.
No.
And-
The moment ghosts start asking, oh no. Yeah. First off, we have a howdy from Kelly Hooker, and Betsy Kulikowski chimed in with saying TikTok equal time suck. She's
I
right.
would agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
But
it's-
as we all know, time is a weird soup.
Yes. Okay. So just to run back through it to make sure I have it all. We got your TikTok. We got your YouTube.
Facebook.
Then you have like 4 or 5 Facebook pages because
Oh.
you have your Moschella Paranormal.
Right.
You have your New Jersey Paranormal Project.
Yeah.
You have your author page.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there another one?
That's it.
Okay,
Yay.
just-
It's
Okay.
a lot of social media. It's a lot of social
It
media.
is.
And
Yeah.
and it's just a way where I could just post stuff that's happening with the group, stuff that's happening with me, the author stuff. I just don't want to like dump everything in one.
Sure, that makes sense.
And the same thing with like Instagram and all that other stuff. You'll find me out there, and even on the TikTok, you'll see it's just videos from different places that I've been where I kind of let you, the viewer, listen to the spirit box session or look at these photos or see this spirit art that it rings true. Please contact me, and a lot of the time I'll get responses from people and it just begins this whole friendship of them just wanting to know more, or even other groups. And I say this to you guys, if you ever come to Jersey, let's investigate. I think
Got it.
and that's why I love the name of your podcast, because I believe we need more para-unity. Instead of different fractions, we need to be able to collaborate and share our ideas and our beliefs. And that's how we grow this field, is by sharing information and working with one another. We have to do that. Once you close off from that, closing off from pretty much your, that tide is that greed, the messy thing. But
Yeah.
We don't need any more mess.
no,
No.
asking $5, it's just, we need unity in the community.
Yes.
Hooray! And that was such a positive and hopeful note. I love it. Thank you
agree.
so much.
Thank you guys. I mean, I really appreciate it. I listened to your show for the last year when I'm driving into work in the morning.
Oh my God.
I really enjoy your topics. I enjoy your guests, and that's important too, is to be able to share stuff like this with one another and, to shine the light on different topics. And you guys are doing a great job with it. So
Thank
we
you.
appreciate
keep up the work.
That was like the best birthday present we've ever gotten.
Right. Now let's
Thank
get
you.
some more teams contacting us to want to be on the show.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. You heard it here. We're looking at you. We're looking for all of you.
There you go.
And also podcasters. I for a fact know there's some amazing paranormal podcasters out there. Come and join us. Come share it with us. And other writers, come join us.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of writers, real quick, before we let Rich go, Rich, where's the best place for them to buy your books?
Yeah, great question.
Right now it's Amazon, but
Okay.
with beyond, the fray and how that would work, pretty soon the books will be available at Barnes and Noble and all your booksellers. So I self-published my first round because I'm like, you know what? I don't have any knowledge on how to do this besides just self-publish route. So I went with that route, and it just became this huge thing that you also have to promote, and you have to do all this hard work and doing investigations, running social media pages starts to become a real. So I said, you know what? I had that soul nudge where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to submit and see what this publisher says. Beyond the Fray was amazing to work with, and they contacted me within like 2 weeks, and they said that they wanted all of my books.
Wow.
Perfect.
They wanted to do the like the second editions of the previous books, and they wanted the new books that I had. So I'm so excited to work with them, and they only produce paranormal books.
That's awesome.
Great company, and it's like a dream come true to work with a company that specifically has interest in what you're doing. It's not just a house that's just pushing out everything. They really take time with their authors. I would even tell people, if you're into the paranormal, check out their books. You do a search just under their publishing house, and you'll see everything from the cryptids to aliens, Sasquatch, and especially the paranormal. So definitely check out Beyond the Fray.
Beyond the Fray Publishing. Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, and we'll make sure to put a link to your Amazon author page, so that way if anybody's looking to buy the books, they can go right to there. We'll include that in the show notes.
Yep.
But Richard, we're running out of time.
Well, it's a pleasure. An hour by so fast.
It did. This
does.
was really fast. Oh my God.
And I guess there's one more thing. If anybody's interested in a free spirit art session, I'm also working on that on my website, richardmoschella.com. So
perfect.
Go to my shop, you just click, the message me, and we can set up a date. I'm looking to get better at what I'm doing, so I need some, people to try it out on. So
there you go.
All about the guinea pigs this evening.
We love guinea pigs. Yes. And guinea pigs are so cute too.
But thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it, and I wish you the best.
Thank you so much, Richard.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, like we were saying, thanks again to Richard Moschella, if I could talk, from the New Jersey Paranormal Project for being our guest tonight. And thanks to all of you for tuning in.
And if you listen to us on Apple Podcast, please take a second and rate us 5 stars or leave us a review. So it helps us to get the word out about the show. And we also want to hear your feedback to make our show better.
That's right, Whitney.
Yay.
And if you're an Android listener, you can follow us on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, or Google Podcasts so you never miss an episode.
And
or like we've said before, if you want to just talk to Alexa, you can just say, Alexa, play that Para-Unity podcast.
Ooh. Ooh, I like that.
We went a little sexier tonight since we're live. All right. Well, if you like the show, tell a friend. If you want to be a guest on the show, or if you want more Para-Unity, please join us on Facebook or Instagram. The other new thing is, if you want to help support our show, please stop by our website and buy us a coffee.
I love coffee.
Yeah.
Very
but
much.
My name is Brandon.
And I'm Whitney, and you've been listening to the best place to bring our paranormal teams a little closer together, the Para-Unity Podcast. And we love everyone. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.